हरे कृष्णा प्रभु जी दंडवत प्रणाम कृष्ण प्रभु।
Correct, Prabhu. Dandavat Pranam, Prabhu. Jai Shri Prabhu. You all can see my screen.
यस प्रभु जी।
Hmm. Okay. So this is very long, but this is much more detailed than what we need for this course. So I'll give more of an overview of this presentation than the whole detailed presentation. Um, ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। मुखं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्येश्वर। So this is part 2 of spontaneous devotion. Again, the subject matter is very, very advanced, but at the same time, um, it is recommended that we know these things. And when the time will come, then Krishna may reveal us deeper understanding of this subject matter. But if we have an overview, a feeling, that's what is required for this Bhakti Shastri course. Um, so there is, we were discussing about Ragatmika Bhakti and Raganuga Bhakti. So Ragatmika Bhakti is Ragatmika Bhakta are the eternal associates, like Srimati Radharani and her associates, friends. They are Ragatmika Bhakta. Ragatmika Bhaktas are of two types. One is Sambandha Rupa and one is Kama Rupa. So Sambandha Rupa is Kama Rupa is um, so there is a word that we use called Madhurya Ras. Madhurya refers to the relationship of Krishna with gopis. That is called Madhurya. So Kama Rupa Ragatmika Bhaktas are basically the gopis, those who have loving relationship with Krishna. And we discussed yesterday how everything is completely pure on that platform, and everything, and that love is not found in this world. That love is only for the sake of giving pleasure, only for the sake of beloved. It is also mentioned like um, just to give an analogy, like how when Krishna embraces Balaramji or when Krishna embraces um, Madhumangal, in the same way Krishna embraces the gopis also. For us, there is a difference. But for Krishna, there is no difference because there is no material angle there. Only pure love is there. Um, there is that other element is not there. That's why when we hear these subject matters, we will try to understand these subject matters from our experience and from our own state of consciousness. And then it becomes very difficult to understand Krishna's pastimes because we come on the way. Today also we had a small program and in the afternoon, and one person asked Krishna. It was about qualities of Lord Ram, and one person asked, um, um, "How can we compare Krishna and Ram when Ram lived such a pure life and Krishna lived an impure life?" So you are explaining that how it's very hard subject matter for us to understand because we understand Krishna's pastime from our experience. So Madhurya Ras is we understood. So Ragatmika Bhakta, there are two types. There is Kamanuga, basically the gopis, and Sambandha Rupa. So Sambandha Rupa, Sambandha means relationship. Sambandha Rupa means any relationship other than calm, other than Madhurya, that comes under Sambandha Rupa Ragatmika Bhakta. Then, so there is Kama Rupa Ragatmika Bhakta, Sambandha Rupa Ragatmika Bhakta. Likewise, Raganuga Bhakti is also of two types. There is Kama Rupa Raganuga Bhakti, and there is Sambandha Rupa Raganuga Bhakti. We discussed the other time the difference between Raganuga Bhakti and Ragatmika Bhakti. Ragatmika Bhakti is eternal associates. Raganuga Bhakti is when we want to become like an eternal associate. I want to have a relationship with Krishna like Madhumanga, like Mother Yashoda. So when I have a desire to serve Krishna like somebody, and if I follow that personality or try to understand, try to hear, and try to meditate, then I am a Raganuga Bhakta in that case because I want a particular relationship with Krishna. In the beginning, our relationship with Krishna is mainly servitude. I am a servant of Krishna, eternal servant of Krishna, which always remains even when we develop a particular relationship. This relationship of servitude is eternal, nonetheless. It's not that when we have a friendship, the servitude is gone. The servitude, I am an eternal servant of Krishna, is an underlying platform for any relationships. But eventually, from servitude, we can go to either a friendship or a conjugal love like Madhurya or parental. We can add on those elements, and that is based on how Krishna reveals to us. We eternally have a relationship with Krishna, but we begin with eternal servitude, and through the holy name or through the medium of spiritual master, the deeper realization of our own self will be revealed to us with time, who we are. So what we are discussing is very high subject matter. It's like this is like actually what is called self-realization, is who we are, who am I, that have lot of elements. The understanding that I'm not this body, I'm a spirit soul is a beginning. But then who am I? What is my relationship? Then there are even further, it goes to very, so complete self-realization is a very advanced platform. So Ragatmika Bhakta, also Kama Rupa Sambandha Rupa, and Raganuga Bhakta, also Kama Rupa Sambandha Rupa. Okay. So are we clear on this definition of Raganuga Ragatmika, Kama Rupa Raganuga, Kama Rupa Ragatmika Bhakta? If anybody is not clear, they can ask me. Okay. Then what is the eligibility for Raganuga Bhakti? Who can begin Raganuga Bhakti? Those who are aspirants for or craving for following in the footsteps. Basically, what is the eligibility for Raganuga Bhakti? It's basically the greed. The greed. I am very eager to have a relationship with Krishna like this devotee. When that intense greed arises, it's a path of revelation. And when that arises, then we can switch to Raganuga Bhakti. Another thing Prabhupada also mentions, Raganuga Bhakti begins only after Anartha Nivritti. When there is like anarthas, like lust and envy, then that spontaneous attraction for Krishna will not arise. But when our heart becomes relatively pure, no envy, no lust, it's fully Krishna centered, very steady. Then that feeling of our relationship with Krishna will start to awaken gradually. That is general. But the main qualification is intense greed to serve Krishna in a particular way. It is not based on number of years also, because one may be continuing one's devotional service from past life. We don't know which life we are in. Even a very beginner can begin Raganuga Bhakta right away, or somebody who is practicing for many decades may have absolutely no desire for Raganuga Bhakti also. Uh, So really, it's the intense greed. The same fact is also clear from Nectar of Instruction. We discussed eighth verse actually had some element of Raganuga Bhakti. The Srila Prabhupada translates Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Prabhupada says, in the transcendental realm of Vraja, Vrajadham, one should serve the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna with a feeling similar to that of his associates. One should place himself under the direct guidance of a particular associate of Krishna and should follow in his footsteps. This method is applicable both in the method of sadhana and sadhya. Sadhana is when we are still practicing, and sadhya is even when we are God realized, even when we are self realized. In other words, we keep ourselves under the care of an eternal associate of the Lord. Even when we go back to spiritual world, we are still serving under that devotee. And when we are here, we are still serving under a devotee. So this principle of serving under a devotee is there here, and after we go there, that principle is there. When one is Siddha Purush, this is Sadhya, stage of Sadhya. So this is basic definition of Raganuga Bhakti, is you have a feeling to serve Krishna in a particular relationship, like a particular associate. Hmm. So what this basically, I'm speaking in my own words so that it becomes easy to digest. How this will happen is we hear about Krishna. We hear about Krishna in friendship, Krishna, hear about Krishna in parental, hear about Krishna in conjugal or madhurya. And then something will really attract us. Something. And when we keep hearing, then one relationship we will have with our greed to serve Krishna, to be with Krishna, particular relationship will keep increasing, increasing, increasing. And to such an extent that we don't even care what is in the scriptures. This is a very advanced platform. And we just are lost in serving Krishna in a particular way. Um, that strong desire to serve Krishna in a particular way, and that is the eligibility for Raganuga Bhakti. This is same thing that we discussed. We'll send you presentation, but I'm giving an overview today. I mean, whatever I'm speaking is sufficient for us to everything is there. What I'm speaking, but there are more references in the presentation, more quotes, more verses to corroborate what we are discussing. Then this is a word of caution by Srila Prabhupada. We must always remember, however, that as such eagerness to follow the footsteps of the denizens of Vraja, Vrindavan, eagerness to follow and associate, is not possible unless one is freed from material contamination. Prabhupada clarifies that eagerness, that lobha will not arise when anartha nivriti has not happened, and still desires are there and envy is there, pride is there, then those feelings will not arise. Even if it arises, it's not really coming, it's not, it can be a glimpse. It can come and go once in a while, but it won't stay, and the heart is keeping on burning to serve Krishna a particular way. That won't happen. That real greed will happen only like real longing, real hankering. Like, when we are looking for a job or a position or something, then we are hankering all the time. That stays. That will not happen till heart becomes relatively pure. In following the regulative principles of devotional service, there is a stage called anartha nivriti, which means the disappearance of all material contamination. Sometimes someone is found imitating such devotional love, but factually it is not free from anarthas or unwanted habits. It has been seen that a so called devotee proclaims himself a follower of Nanda or Yashoda or the gopis, while at the same time his abominable attraction for mundane sex life is visible. Such a manifestation of divine love is mere imitation and has no value. When one is actually spontaneously attracted to the loving principles of the gopis, there will be no trace of any mundane contamination in his character. So Prabhupada clarifies that these feelings of serving Krishna like a eternal associate won't arise till the heart is pure. It may, if it feels that it is arise, it is more like a shadow. Um, Prabhupada says there is not much value in that, but the real spontaneous attraction won't arise. Um,
Hare
I
Krishna
don't know.
Prabhuji.
Agar प्रभु yes बताइए.
Prabhuji, so I have like a small doubt. So,
हाँ,
so I was reading in Prabhupada's book that once a devotee said he do not want to pay obeisances to the Prabhupada because he is not feeling from inside to do so. So Prabhupada replied, "You start paying obeisances, and that feeling to respect the Guru will come eventually."
हाँ.
So here, like if somebody is doing like imitating it, so isn't it like he is trying to uh, follow that mood? And for example, like it is said that fake it until you make it. So
That's Vaidi, na? Vaidi means Raganuga is different, Prabhuji. See, Vaidi means I know this is the right thing. I may feel, I may not feel. I'll still do it. I'll still practice it till it becomes spontaneous. But the word Raganuga, the word Rag means when bhakti is rendered out of deep attachment for Krishna. So that's why this is, we are discussing an advanced stage of bhakti. So when we are faking it, we are automatically practicing Vaidhi bhakti based on scriptures, based on instructions of Guru Sadhu Shastra. That's what Vaidhi bhakti is, and that's what training is now. But when through those, when the heart becomes pure and a deep loving attraction, attachment for Krishna develops, then we come to the platform of spontaneous devotion. Good.
okay, Prabhuji.
Those eligible for Vaidhi Bhakti must depend on scriptures as well as favorable reasoning and arguments till the flash of bhavas appears in the heart. This is what Gagan Prabhu what you were saying is when we are practicing Vaidhi Bhakti, I'm practicing Vaidhi Bhakti 100%. Bhagavan is very advanced, Prabhuji. But those who are eligible for Vaidhi Bhakti, they must continue practicing it till bhav appears, whatever the scripture says. I don't know the why I wrote Fiat car. Some thought would have come in my mind, but I don't remember now. So when we are ready, Sri Guru will arrange.
Uh,
Basically,
Prabhuji,
uh,
one question. Sorry to interrupt.
yes, yes.
So, my question is the kind of bhakti that we practice or a new devotee practice, is that Vedi bhakti or there is one more step before that?
There is Vaidhi Bhakti Prabhuji.
Okay. So,
Yes, Vaidhi
first Vedi bhakti and then you next you transition or to
to
Raganuga.
Raganuga Bhakti. Yeah, Vaidhi Bhakti has elements like begins with faith, and we meet sadhus or scriptures, and then we understand what is Vaidhi Bhakti, and then we start following. But those
Okay.
are like kind of ramping us to Vaidhi Bhakti. But that's the first Bhakti. Then the second is
Raganuga.
thank you, Siddhant.
Thank you.
Uh, Anything else? Okay. And we also should not be very eager to practice Raganuga Bhakti. But it is something that it is not something that we can develop. It is something that is awarded. And when it is awarded to us, we cannot stop it. We will just flow in that. But we should wait till that blessings is bestowed upon. Till that time, we sincerely do our sadhana, our chanting, our association, our reading, our hearing, our serving, our following of regulatory principles. We sincerely do those things. till the mercy descends. This is again very advanced stage. Here it says that those who are Raganuga Bhaktas, one who is treading that path, he shall remain in Braja. He shall always live in Braja by constantly remembering one's most beloved Krishna, and the dearest associates of Sri Krishna in Braja, in following whose bhavas one has a burning craving for the service of one's most beloved Krishna. Basically, what it means, live in Braja, and the heart is so much attached to Krishna, we cannot think of anything else. And we are only focusing on how the devotee is serving Krishna. And we are like, there's a waves of devotion going through. Um, and one has this burning craving, when that day will be mine, that when that burning craving comes. So we should know that our devotion has become spontaneous. Right now, if we see our devotion is, we do certain number of rounds that we are committed to, and then we break. Then we go for breakfast, we go for work, we go for, and then later on we do little reading. So this is like, it's not like we have a spontaneous attraction for Krishna, but we know that this is the path and we are following it, and we like following it. That's wonderful. But when spontaneous attraction comes now, spontaneous devotion comes now, Prabhupada says you don't have to make an effort in spontaneous devotion. Your heart just cannot forget Krishna throughout. Um, very advanced stage. Again, it's the same principle. Mahaprabhu is telling. So, Rupa Sanatana Goswami is teaching. I think this is Sanatana Siksha. Mahaprabhu Sanatana Goswami. He is telling that devotee should always think of Krishna within himself, and one should choose a very dear devotee who is a servitor of Krishna in Vrindavan. One should constantly engage in topics about that servitor and his loving relationship to Krishna. One should live in Vrindavan. However, if one is physically unable to go to Vrindavan, he should live there mentally. Like Prabhupada was preaching, but Prabhupada was constantly in Vrindavan. Um, if one cannot live there physically, one can live there mentally. But how hard it is to live mentally also for us. For us, once in a while, if the vision of Vrindavan comes, we become very happy. But that time we may have some attraction, but spontaneous attraction, we cannot stop thinking about it. It's that deep, this devotion. Srila Prabhupada summarizes, he says, when one is actually liberated from material contamination, he can always remember in eternal devotee in Vrindavan in order to love Krishna in the same capacity. And developing such an aptitude, one will always live in Vrindavan even within his mind. The mind is so absorbed in Krishna that one is constantly focusing on one associate of Krishna, and how that associate is serving Krishna, and one cannot think of anything else. Prabhupada says, uh, um, mm, yeah, one will develop such, it's actually path of grace. But this gives us a hint of what is Raganuga Bhakti. Again, this is the same. Um, hmm. So this is another concept. I will explain. I'm just going through the concept and I will explain my own words. Hmm. So here is the concept. There are many slides covering this concept. The thing is, suppose one is in a Madhurya Ras and one is very much attracted to how Lalita Devi serves Krishna, or someone in Madhurya Ras, conjugal love, serve Krishna. So although in the mind one is absorbed in thinking about that associate and how they serve Krishna, externally one is like preaching, attending Mangalarati, um, doing deity worship, reading Bhagavatam. So externally, one is still doing the same things. Internally, one is meditating on how Lalita Devi is worshipping Krishna. So external, internal, completely two different. There are a group of people in India, those who want to serve Krishna like Lalita. So they dress themselves like a gopi. They become like they wear a gopi dress or something, and then they make somebody as Krishna and they dance and they think this is like following Lalita Devi and how she's serving Krishna. So that is like cheap imitation, which is actually motivated by anarthas, unwanted desires. But a pure devotee, so Rupa Goswami says there is external following and there is internal following. Externally, one always serves Mahaprabhu's mission, Prabhupada's mission. The sadhaka identity never goes away. So we see how Srila Prabhupada, how our different spiritual masters, how they are conducting their lives. Nothing is visible, but internally, internal changes. In our beginning Vaidhi stage, our external, internal are same. We are chanting, we are chanting. We are cooking, we are cooking. But when we come to Raganuga Bhakti, na, then our internals are completely different. So this is called Sadhaka Rupena and Siddha Rupena. So Sadhaka Rupena is Sadhaka form and Siddha Rupena is Siddha form, which is like an associate of Lalita Devi or whoever. Mm. So one must follow an associate of Lord Chaitanya in sadhaka form, or how Mahaprabhu taught us, and one should follow with internally here. So this is the concept. Is this concept clear of sadhaka rupena and siddha rupena, external and internal following? You know, it's very simple. Okay, so here also another slide. They are all saying the same concept with various references. This external behavior of a Raganuga Bhakta. When an individual is thus blessed, when an individual is blessed, again you see here, this path comes by blessing, path of internal path. When an individual is thus blessed with the spontaneous awakening of such an intense longing, he lives in two worlds at the same time. Physically, in this world, he or she lives a normal life of a spiritual practices under the guidance of the instructions of the scriptures and chants the holy name and listens to the glories of Godhead from the scriptures and saints. And in the mentally mental world, he or she lives in an entirely different realm, possessing an aprakrit body. Aprakrit means it is not manifested yet, but it is in the mind. One enters into that body, one meditates on oneself in that form, similar to any of the four classes of Sthai Bhavas of eternal associates of Sri Krishna. Basically, one serves Krishna in a completely different realm, in a form based on how one wants to serve Krishna. So, if you see in a picture, on the bottom is Sadhaka Rupena, and the same devotees is on the top, and they are sitting in their conjugal form. That's who they are eternally. But in this world, they are like wearing simple chadar, dhoti, kurta, tilak, chanting mala, writing. They are doing this is sadhaka form. And in the mind, they are absorbed in serving Radha and Krishna in particular form. So that's the difference between external behavior and internal behavior. And this is given again by the path of grace. It also here says a devotee who is actually advanced in Krishna consciousness, who is constantly engaged in devotional service, should not manifest himself even though he has attained perfection. The idea is that he should always continue to act as a neophyte devotee as long as his material body is there. So here Prabhupada is telling, don't show your internal externally. Externally remain the same till you die. Don't even share with anybody other than confidentially with one spiritual master, or some relationships are more open, but otherwise don't make it public. Um, live like a beginner throughout till the end of the material body. One should not manifest himself, even though he has attained perfection. Like if you see, Prabhupada never revealed himself. Our spiritual master never revealed themselves. So we cannot know them. That's why they said it takes one to know one. When we get into that platform now, then we will be able to see that in others. But otherwise, we cannot see. Imitation is not recommended. For example, if a man has been blessed with the burning craving for the service of the Lord in the wake of the feeling and sentiments of the Braj Gopis, he will maintain a strict behavior in the physical world and would in his mind conceive a Gopi Deha. But if any man takes up the imitation of the ways and behavior of a lady and dresses himself like a woman, he must be considered to be a man of perverse mentality, like a fallen, conditioned soul, and should be kept aloof with the contempt he deserves. Basically, keep it internal. When that becomes external, it becomes imitation, becomes sahajya, becomes cheap, something like that. Then there is, uh, I think, Siddha Pranali concept. Okay, I will share. Siddha Pranali concept is this is a fallacious interpretation. So some people they are very eager to know who they are in the spiritual world, and they go to somebody in Vrindavan, some Babaji, and they say, Babaji, who am I in spiritual world? Babaji says, no, you are a gopi, or you are a gopa, you are this or you are that, and you do your bhajan like this. You stay here, you are qualified. So this cheating actually. Um, um, uh, that's how actually many people in ISKCON, after many years, many people they leave ISKCON thinking that some other Babaji will give me perfection, and they will say, you are this Gopa, you are this Gopi, and they think that ISKCON is not giving me everything. They don't say, and they go to some cheap Babas, and they are also Sahajiyas, and they become one of them, and they also become Sahajiyas. That's why this understanding is very important. Um, Srila Prabhupada wants us to be Siddha Pranali means when we are neophyte and we have anarthas, we have desires, then only we will get a Siddha Deha. Oh, this is who you are, this is what your name is, this is the dress what you wear, this is how you act, this is how you talk. All bogus actually. So Srila Prabhupada, not for this time, this is not this doesn't work in this time and age. Srila Prabhupada wants that time when people were self-realized and the receiver was self-realized, the guru was self-realized, then this conversation was possible. But not in this time and age when everyone is dealing with anarthas. Srila Prabhupada wants us to be careful of the so-called Siddha Pranali process. It's a deviant basically. It's a deviation. And actually when Mahaprabhu left, this deviation came. And that's how the Mahaprabhu's true teachings, pure teachings, were actually contaminated. And then Saraswati Thakur and Srila Prabhupada, they revived and gave an original form. And that's why people are able to make progress systematically. Wholesome progress is possible now, it was not possible. During after Mahaprabhu, there was some phase when everything was concocted and everything was degraded. Bhaktivinoda Thakur again revived the pure teachings. Prabhupada in the last line, if you see Prabhupada succinctly, in short, Prabhupada says their external behavior is not at all according to regulative principles. It's like wrong interpretation, Siddha Pranali, or taking it cheap. That so imitation is not recommended. Again, you all can read this. I'm just giving a summary because I think going in detail of this subject matter is not necessary for this course. But I have just still put all the details in the presentation. Prabhupada here speaks about the so-called Siddha Pranali process is followed by Prakrita Sahajiyas, a pseudo sect of so-called Vaishnavas. They are not Vaishnavas, pseudo sect. They are imitating to be a Vaishnava. In the opinion of Rupa Goswami, such activities are simply disturbances to the standard way of devotional services. Or like actually um, impure, impure. Um, Eligibility of Raga Noga Bhakti. As to the hearing, chanting, meditating, which are various angas of Vaidhi Bhakti, the wise should know them to be useful in Raganuga Bhakti as well. So it's not that when one is Raganuga Bhakta, spontaneous attachment, then hearing, chanting, meditating, they are not important. No. The wise should know that them to be useful in Raganuga Bhakti also. It's just external, nothing changes, just internal changes. Internal is awakened. Attraction to Krishna is awakened, the relationship with Krishna is awakened. External, nothing changes. We should follow the regulative principles even one has developed a strong attachment to Krishna. The principle should be followed. Then in Madhurya Ras or Kama Rupa that we discussed, conjugal love, spontaneous devotion service, conjugal love, it's of two types. There is indirect conjugal love, there is direct conjugal love. Hear this very attentively if you can. There is indirect conjugal love, there is direct conjugal love. Srila Prabhupada explains this development of conjugal love can be possible only with those who are already engaged in following the regulative principles of devotional service, specifically in the worship of Radha and Krishna in the temple. Such devotees gradually develop a spontaneous love for the deity, and by hearing of the Lord's exchange of loving affairs with the gopis, they gradually become attracted to those pastimes. Um, so Prabhupada says, if we are serving Radha and Krishna in the temple, that will enhance the spontaneous feeling. This is very important actually, and that's why this Bhakti Shastri course will help us to serve Radha and Krishna in the temple. Once you start serving personally, dressing them, decorating them, then you will see certain emotions may arise. That will be very nourishing. I'm reading from the second paragraph. This devotional service in conjugal love can be divided into two categories. One is indirect conjugal love and the other direct. In both of these categories, one has to follow a particular gopi who is engaged in such service in Golok Vrindavan. Hmm. So I will tell you what is indirect conjugal love, what is direct conjugal love. So Prabhuji's Mataji's, there are two kind of gopis. Srimati Radharani, Krishna is 14, Krishna is around 16 years old. Srimati Radharani is around 14 years. Between 13 and 14, somewhere around that. And she has a loving relationship with Krishna. And our path, those who are attracted to, I think right now we may not be able to identify ourselves, but those in future, if the time comes, those who are attracted to um, um, serving Krishna, if some conjugal bhav is there to see Krishna, like Madhurya Ras. Um, uh, Radharani has friends. Radharani also has very younger servants. They are like 11 and 12 years old. Radharani is 14 and they are like 11 and 12. So they are called Manjaris actually. Manjaris. Um, Radharani, Lalita, Vishakha, they are gopis. Um, um, and younger one are called Manjaris. So Manjari's role is to assist Radharani to be with Krishna. They never compete between Radha and Krishna. But the Sakhis or the Gopis, they themselves want to have a direct relationship with Krishna. Um, uh, um, the Manjari state is higher actually. Um, it is said that they can serve Krishna, Radha and Krishna in a way that even Gopis cannot serve them. And the kind of pleasure they enjoy is like millions of times more than what the gopis enjoy by being directly with Krishna. What Manjaris experience, the ecstasy they experience by serving Radha and Krishna, millions of times more. Only Radharani experiences the um, full nectar of devotional service to Krishna. Only Radharani can experience. Others cannot experience. That's why Mahaprabhu came in the mood of Srimati Radharani to experience. Krishna wanted to experience what she experiences to be with Krishna. And those who serve her closely, they get the same experience as Srimati Radharani. And it is said the experience what gopis get with Krishna is like a mustard seed if compared to Mount Meru, mustard seed to Mount Meru. Likewise, the experience of gopis versus experience of Srimati Radharani by being with Krishna. Like gulf of difference because Radharani's devotion is the highest and millions of times deeper to Krishna. Of course, because she is coming directly from Krishna. She is the personification of Antaranga Shakti of Krishna. And those who serve her, they get the same experience. That's why in our line, this indirect conjugal, those who are attracted to conjugal relationship, the indirect conjugal relationship is um, is prevalent. All the associate of Lord Chaitanya, our acharyas, whether it is Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Saraswati Thakur, Rupa and Sanatana Goswami, and all the other Goswamis, they are all uh, those younger servants of Srimati Radharani. They're all manjaris, technically speaking. So that is the difference between direct conjugal relationship and indirect conjugal relationship. Hmm. Then conjugal relationship can also is also of two types. There is a wedded and there is unwedded. Like wedded is Dwarka. In Dwarka, one can have Krishna as one's husband, and in Braja, it's unwedded relationship. And we were discussing yesterday. There is love in Dwarka, there is love in Mathura, and there is love in Braja, Braj Gopis. And the love in Braja is pure, uncontaminated. Um, um, but in Dwarka, there is some desire for my pleasure and some for Krishna's pleasure. But in Braja, it's like 100% sold out, only service to Krishna. Everything just to please Krishna. So the love is very, very pure there in Braja. So the followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, like in our whole parampara line, we don't aspire for the Dwarka type relationship, but we aspire for Vrindavan. So we always say Vrindavan, Braja, Vrindavan, Vrindavan. Um, we don't promote that because we know that this is the purest. And this is what Mahaprabhu actually came to give us. Hmm. I think this is sufficient. Does anyone has any question? There are a lot more details to it. And then there is Sambandhanuga where one is either following Nanda Maharaj or one is following Mother Yashoda or one is following Subal Sakha. Those are this is an example from Skanda Puran where an old man he um, um, wanted to serve Krishna like Nanda Maharaj. So Narad Muni told him to follow in the footsteps of Nanda Maharaj. And then he attained service to Krishna like Nanda Maharaj. We can never become Nanda Maharaj, but we can become an associate or a servant of Nanda Maharaj and have the same feeling of parental with Krishna. Okay, so how are we doing? I know it's a very complex subject matter, and I personally also didn't feel we should go in great detail of this subject matter. Um, but are there any discussions, questions? Like, okay,
That's true, bro. Like it's going over the head. Everything. You know,
once I started the Nectar of Devotion course, everyone is very attentive. But when
uh-huh.
I come to these topics now, afterwards they say, "Prabhuji, Nectar of Devotion कुछ समझ नहीं आया." It is very complex, but then by the mercy of Krishna, we gradually understand these subject matter also. when we read ourselves. But for the sake of exam, um, just basic understanding of what is Raganuga Bhakti is sufficient.
Yeah.
But these slides help us even in future if you want to go deeper. There's everything is there in these presentations for future purposes. Krishna will guide us from
Sure.
gradually.
Was it like did you recollect that Fiat example, Fiat car example? Or,
No, I didn't.
okay.
I think probably what it was no, we used to have a Fiat car. This is like
This car kind of.
that time we were like, we were uh, like not even teenagers. We were like boys, 8, 9 years old. That was the first car our father bought. Second hand, car was very rare that time.
Mm,
So this car would not run. It would stop in between. And then to run the car, उसको धक्का लगाना होता था probably 4 लोगों
mm,
को. You have to push, 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 and then it will start running. Then it will go. So I think what the example was initially हमें भक्ति में अपने आप को धक्का लगाना होता है.
okay.
Push yourself, push, keep chanting, keep hearing, keep coming temple, keep serving, keep going, 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 going. And after that, once that loving affection for Krishna awakens, then it's like you just keep going by yourself because now you're so attracted to it.
Okay. Thank you.
I think that's what I could recall. Thank you, Mani Prabhu, for your wonderful service today also.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay, anything else? Anyone has any other question?
Prabhuji, as you mentioned, this topic is complex and understanding it can take a while. So I just wanted to ask, like, do we need to have read all the cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam before we can delve into these details, understand this more?
Well, not necessary. Prabhupada gave Nectar of Devotion. Prabhupada said we can read it at any point of time. And Nectar of Devotion is very pure. And whatever misconception people have about Krishna and everything is slowly clarified with Nectar of Devotion. So pure. But at the same time, it's hard to understand. Um, um, um,
Okay.
but you can read and Krishna will help you understand. And if you have some questions,
Mm.
maybe you can ask.
So we don't need to have completed all the Srimad Bhagavatam.
Yeah, not for Nectar of Devotion. But we don't approach. See, this is not Leela's Prabhu. We don't discuss pastimes here,
Mhm.
which are very deep and divine and intimate. Those comes in 10th canto. This is more like philosophy. Okay, what is this? What is this? What are the different types? We're discussing the philosophy. Philosophy, to understand philosophy is no problem. Anybody can try to understand, they will get it. If you understand deeply, analyze. I remember when I did my Bhakti Shastri, Prabhu. I read it, I completed it, I got the full marks in Bhakti Shastri also for the exam of NOD, and I thought I got it. And then, but I could not understand. I just thought I understood. And then, one point of time, after many, many years, when I was reading in detail Nectar of Devotion, then I felt like, oh, I never read it. This is the first time reading it. And it was so much depth is there in this book. Um, so I think it's I mean for me also it's not that I understand now, maybe theoretically I understand, but I also understand I'm very very far from practically applying it, although theoretically I may understand. um, but gradually we will be able to understand. But every time when I first read and heard on this subject matter now, then I felt like, okay, I think I got a feeling, I think I kind of get it. um, but then when I read the second time, then I like, oh, this is like way like this is like way amazing what is written actually. Some point of time you will feel like this is like the nectar of our life. You will feel like enlivened by hearing this. You will have clarity of the Siddhanta. I mean, your name is also Siddhant. You will have a Siddhant basically means you have a clarity of this philosophical understanding. Very deep, Prabhu, very deep.
Yes.
Um, but at least it gives us a hint of how great these teachings are, Prabhu, how deep they are. It's amazing.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for answering my question in detail.
Thank you, Siddharth.
Thank you.
Anybody has anything else? I see many great Vaishnavas on the call. Okay. Okay, dear devotees, thank you for tolerating me. Despite all my insufficiencies. Vanchakalpatarubhesha kripasintu patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Anantakoti Vaishnava. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Next week will be easier to understand because Bhava Bhakti, Raganaga Bhakti is over. Raganaga Bhakti, when it comes, I feel like, oh no, how do we explain this Bhakti? It's so complex. But Bhava Bhakti now we have crossed. Now we are just in the stage of ecstasy. Raganaga Bhakti, Sadhana Bhakti, Vaidhi Bhakti leads to Raganaga Bhakti, Raganaga Bhakti leads to Bhava Bhakti. Now we are completely transcendental. And Bhava Bhakti thickens and becomes Prema. Then we are like back to Godhead. That is the stage that we want to come in some lifetime before we can go back on back to God. That much it requires. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Very nice. Hare Krishna. His Krishna, Shananda Prabhuji ki jai.
Devotee Vaishnava.